can explain. So my excuse is, I just came back from like a 2-week trip to Malaysia. Ever since getting back, I just haven't had the time to, do any of these cleaning up, and you may not buy that excuse, but it's the only one you're gonna get. Anyway, now that I'm on video, I guess it's as good a time as any to take care of this. Well, later. If you click this video and immediately thought to yourself that this is probably going to be about some new camera, there's going to be some camera talk involved, then congratulations, you know me well enough. In fact, you are now looking at one of those new Fango camera features. Auto framing, AI. It's a gimmicky sort of feature, but it's kind of cool. Before talking about the new camera though, I kind of want to talk about this as well. Now it may or may not be obvious from the camera, but I am using LED lights now, which are pretty nice. They are much brighter, they are also less greenish, and the bonus for this as well is that, it doesn't flicker in the camera, because I don't think it does. Yeah, it shouldn't. So what I did was I kind of gave myself a DIY upgrade and kind of ripped off the old fluorescent tube mechanism that was originally up there. They were kind of falling apart anyway. All the plastic was literally disintegrating in my fingers. So yeah, I kind of ripped these out. And then I went and got a store-bought magnetic LED light element thing and just kind of stuck it on. So thankfully the casing here is, metallic, so you can actually stick a magnet on it. So I just ripped up all of the original electronics and then connected the endings, and then lo and behold, it works. So with that out of the way, I suppose now it remains for me to explain, justify, why I destroyed my wallet and got this new camera. This is the A6700. It is quite the upgrade over the old camera, which is the ZV-E10. Suppose we can go about answering this question in 2 steps. 1, what was wrong with the ZV-E10, and 2, what is great about the A6700. So if you've been watching my videos for the past 2.5 years or so, you may have noticed something. If you've been watching them, especially on the large enough screen, you may have noticed that the majority of footages that went into those videos have been shot in 1080p. The reason for that, chiefly, is due to limitations on the old camera. So issue number 1 is that I shoot in 60 frames per second. I just kind of like the way it looks. It also affords me a lot of freedom in post for expression. I can slow down the footage. The old camera cannot shoot 4K in 60p. We are shooting 4K 60 on the new camera right now. Now you can go ahead and ask, can't you just, just get used to shooting at a lower frame rate then? Well, that's a fair point. However, even at lower frame rates, there are significant limitations to the 4K footage that comes out of this camera. The 4K looks great, it is oversampled, it is very sharp, but because this is a very old sensor now, the sensor readout speed is very slow. And what that results in is this so-called Jello Effect, something called rolling shutter. Let me demonstrate right now. So if you have it out ahead of you, like on a tripod, and it's like a static shot, then you'll be fine. The 4K is going to look great. But if you're moving about like I usually do, vlogging outside, and you shake it around a lot, you're going to get a lot of you see that? There's this Jello Effect. I'm being deformed as the camera shakes. And this is particularly pronounced in like telephoto shots, very zoomed in shots. Allow me to demonstrate. This is a deal breaker. And in case you're thinking to yourself that, I'm kind of like artificially creating these shakes, and I kind of am now for demonstration purposes, but I've had actual shots ruined by this out in the field. And these are like tripod shots, right, where I have the camera mounted on the tripod with a telephoto lens, and because it's windy, the wind creates this micro jitters, and you can see the wobble, the jelly happening in these otherwise pretty important scenes. So the net result of this is that I don't consider a 4K only workflow or even a chiefly 4K workflow feasible on the old camera. So the next question is, what's wrong with 1080p? I mean, it's still a mirrorless camera, you still got great lenses. 1080p should still look pretty good, right? Yes and no. So the 1080p footage that comes out of this camera, I think, well, by YouTube standards, I think it's quite good, and that's why I've been able to make a bunch of videos. But by the standards of modern mirrorless cameras, the 1080p footage is actually quite poor. And the reason for that is that the sensor is a high resolution sensor. It's not really designed for 1080p. So what's happening is that it's doing something called line skipping. It's throwing away a bunch of information from a bunch of pixels that it doesn't need, and kind of putting the remaining pixel information together into a low resolution image. And the result of that is you get some pretty soft pictures where details are kind of fuzzy. This has happened for some really key shots in my videos before. Take a look at this one, for example. So this is from my Northeast Japan travel series, and here we are visiting this place in Hakodate called Kaku. And this shot is the most important shot in that whole sequence. This is the shot that, impresses upon you, the star shape and, the snow-covered landscape that really defines the scenery. And look at how soft it is. It looks terrible. I was cringing when I was editing this scene, but I didn't have, any other. This was the shot. And, it was ruined. It was terrible. And if you need an example of just how sharp good 1080p can be, you can take a look at some of my drone footage. I know DJI does a lot of like over sharpening, but for drone images it works. Look at how the details compare, in the foliage. Look at how terrible it can get on my mirrorless camera with a sensor size like how many times the size of that sensor in that small little drone. Another effect of this line skip 1080p is that it tends to manifest this effect called MOA. When you film things that are high detail, especially that has regular patterns on it, it tends to manifest this strange striped, banded artifacts, and it looks terrible. It happens a lot, and most of the time it's kind of, if you don't look at it, it looks okay. But for example, this shot over here, I had this nice panning shot of, the view, the top-down view of the Sensoji temple and the street leading up to it, and it was so inundated with this MOA effect. It was terrible. This was a great shot, and again is ruined by the subpar 1080p that comes out of the old camera. So that's basically a summary of the issue with Sony's last generation of APS-C sensors for video. It kind of stuck you between a rock and a hard place. You're forced to either work with 4K that has this terrible rolling shutter effect, or 1080p and deal with the soft images, the MOA. The worst thing is that you can never predict when these effects manifest, so you'll be out there happily filming, and then you come back and you look at your footage in post and you're like, oh god, this was the shot, Sony. And this is where salvation arrives in the form of Sony's new generation APS-C sensor. The age of 4K 60 has arrived. 4K 60, no crop, 10-bit 422, and with fast sensor readout, so no terrible rolling shutter. Finally. So now we can sing the virtues of the new camera. So of course the most important critical feature is 4K 60 that I've been talking about. I've been looking for this in an upgrade for a good while now, and it is finally here. But that's not the only thing, of course, that's great about the camera. It's got a bunch of nifty features. For example, this silly AI auto framing thingamajig. There are probably some pretty, creative ways to make use of this, but for now this is kind of a cool gimmick. Just kind of use it every now and then and pretend that I have a photographer, videographer following me around. But what's also interesting is that underlying this technology is Sony's new AI autofocus system, which is really good. It's clearly better than the old camera. To put it simply, cameras tend to track your eye in order to keep the focus on you, but this can be a problem when your eye is briefly not visible. For example, if you briefly cover it up, or if someone kind of walks in front of you and blocks you for a bit. What's great about this new autofocus system is that it can track you even if it can't see your eye. If it loses your eye, it'll try to find your face. If it loses your face, it tries to find your body. Even if you turn around, it can still kind of keep the focus on you. If I turn around, it still kind of knows it's me. That's why it can still keep the focus on me, right? So you don't lose the subject that you're trying to track. It is really quite good. It's probably the best autofocus system in the world right now. Another thing the camera comes with that I've been low-key wanting for a long time now as kind of a wish list item is 4K 120. And what that means is it's slow motion, 120 frames per second, but in full 4K resolution. I've always drooled over what you can do on like the A7S III. Finally, I have a camera that can do it as well. You have a pretty hefty crop into the frame when you use it, but it still looks great. I mean, it's a 4K image. It has, 10-bit 422 colors. It looks amazing. I've always wanted it. The new iPhone 16 just got announced, and apparently the word is that it's got 4K 120. If that phone had 4K 120 and my camera didn't, I would have probably chewed my fingernails off in frustration. So thank God this camera does have it. Finally, it also has 1080 240p, which is even more slow-mo, but just at 1080p. I probably won't be using that much, but it's nice that it's there. I'll probably use it every now and then. So the other thing about this camera is that the stabilization is improved. This is the housemate, by the way, who is an unwilling participant in this vlog at this point.
Hey man!
So the sensor shifts in this camera is called IBIS, which is pretty good. The old camera has electronic stabilization, which really crops into the picture, so you won't be able to see this wide field of view in the old camera. This one, because it's got a moving sensor shift kind of thing, so it's able to do this stabilization at a much smaller crop, and it's looking pretty stable. I spilled my drink right now with my butt. Poor housemate is a casualty, or rather poor housemate's pants. Well, honestly, if I weren't making a vlog or something, I pretty much never do this vlog anymore. It's just so humid, so hot. I always end up too sweaty at the end of it. From when there's a camera to test, then maybe it's worthwhile, you know? Cloudy today, which is a little bit of a shame. I was kind of hoping that there might be some stars to be seen. So actually, sometime last year there was actually a landslide somewhere around here after some really heavy rains, and as a result they actually closed the area up, and they were kind of fixing it for quite a long while and you couldn't pass through. So I didn't even come down and investigate, so I'm not even sure where exactly the landslide hit, but yeah, so that happened. Clearly it's been fixed now, so you could, you know, pass again. Pretty nice night walking area, really. But man, it is hot. It's like midnight now and I'm still sweating. Gotta get back, go take a bath. Alright, so this is pretty much the vlog, I guess. I'm also editing this video now of this hike that I did in New Zealand sometime back in June. It's a pretty cool hike near Auckland, and I've been spending kind of more time than I expected on it, but it's shaping up. It should be out by the time this vlog is out, so if you're watching this vlog, then chances are it's already on my main channel. So if you're interested in the hike of New Zealand, pop by, take a look. I did say, I guess, that the age of 4K 60 is upon us. That is only partially true, because I guess I still have a lot of footage taken with the old camera that I haven't edited yet. So we're talking to the tune of like 8 more videos maybe, and then after that I guess the age of 4K can begin. Or I may mix in a 4K video somewhere in between, because I don't really edit my videos in sequence, in case you haven't noticed. So right, so that's about it. I will probably make a few more videos about this camera. It's gonna be, you know, more technical with some, you know, tests and stuff that I did with the camera. So if you're interested in some more nerdy details and stuff like that about this camera, then take a look at the videos when they come out. But otherwise, this is gonna be it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Oh my god, a footage track. If you want to be the best, if you want to be professional, if you want to be award winning, you have to have smooth skin. Let me show you. Oh my god,